had a chance to be gone through it a few times. It's second time with Derek at that, and a little different methods, but a lot of prep work before you get here, and then you map it out and you get everyone up to speed on what some of your goals are, and then you try to go out and find a way to execute your plan the best that you can. But it's very fluid. It changes. People are signing. People come off your board, and you just keep trying to press forward and try to meet your goals eventually. It might not always be the people you had targeted from the beginning, but we'll see where it ends up.
You did make a move signing Michael Pineda. What can you tell us about him? Status after
well, I'm excited about it, obviously. You've seen those signings in the past that have worked out where a guy's rehabbing whatever the injury might be. In this case, Tommy John. You make the sacrifice of giving up the year for the most part to allow him to rehab, but you're relying fairly heavily on taking the risk of the upside in 19. In his case, I had a nice conversation with him not too long ago. He was excited about the opportunity of coming to Minnesota, and we all know when he's healthy what he can do, and I thought it was outside the box a little bit, but something that was definitely that I was really happy to hear that we were going that direction to bring him on board. We'll see what this year brings. Most likely we're going to encourage him to take care of his rehab. Obviously it's going to run up near to the end of the year, but at the very worst, we're hoping he goes into the next offseason being able to do his regular work and not have to worry about rehab and be ready for 19.
That wouldn't be a bad September edition.
Yeah, you're talking 9-10 months away, and how things are going to go. We're going to try to get in sync with him as quickly as we can in terms of our idea of the Tommy John rehab. I guess it's kind of one of those things you might allow yourself to think about that, but the biggest thing is going to try to make sure he's ready for 19.
What do you hear on the makeup? What kind of guy is he? He usually had the pine tar thing, but did you have to hear? That's kind of a
yeah. The pine tar thing, I don't think it's really a reflection of makeup or character or anything like that. It was more a case of high-definition television, I think, than anything. But a lot of good things. No question, just never having spoken to him until recently, just encouraged by his energy and desire to, when he gets healthy, to come back and help the team, and thankfully he chose us.
Does he know any of your Dominican guys?
There is some connection there. I wouldn't call them friendships. We talked about some of the people that are our team from Dominican, obviously. So.
What about finding pitchers that can help you right away, Molly? What's your confidence level that you guys can execute something here?
Right away, well, I'm not sure exactly what that means. Right away, is that today, or is that this week, or is that before spring training? There's different ways to try to find ways to supplement your staff. We're working it. It's been a busy few days as far as the amount of people we've talked to, free agent board, trying to find potential matches with other teams. I have a lot of confidence that the next wave of people from our organization is going to be more swayed to the pitching side than the position side. But that being said, to be able to find some people that can help us here to try to push us forward from what we did last year is obviously something that everyone has a goal of. And still optimistic that something really good is going to happen for us here.
Yeah, what did your ball club do better last year than a lot of people don't realize? What's the under the radar?
You can look at a lot of different things as far as reasons that we're able to, have a winning season as opposed to a 103-loss season. I like to keep it fairly simple as much as I, understand some of the analytics and ways we're able to evaluate players and performance and pitchers and defense and base running. But I knew that we had to find a way to pitch better, and we did. Maybe not tremendously better, but we were better. I think we biggest change that we saw day to day was our the way that we protected the baseball on the defensive side of the game, understood getting off the field better. And I think that we saw some maturity in our young hitters that understand there's going to be a lot of failure in the game offensively, but to be renewed each and every day and do it with confidence was a factor in some of the growth of those guys.
Oh, I know the mantra in spring training is everybody's got a shot. Why not
Yeah.
us? But was there a moment last year that maybe with your staff you kind of had a moment where you said, you know what, we might be?
Well, I think last winter, when Derek and Thad kind of talk about those guys a lot, but they were right. I just don't think that you ever put limitations on a group of men in a professional sport, and I wasn't sure where it was going to go. I did have belief that we had more talent to run out on the field than what was indicated by our previous year. But I think if there was a time, it was just kind of the way we went about our camp, the progress that we made, and then very critically for a young team, we got off to a good start. And I think that we all started to see some of the things that we tried to make a priority in spring training, start to happen on a more consistent basis, eliminating a lot of the mistakes. And it started to, just gain a little bit of momentum, and we had a couple periods where it looked like it was slipping away, but I think clubhouse leadership was able to keep us on track. And part of maturing as a player up here is getting the understanding of just how long a season is and the ups and downs and how you got to keep pushing.
In your bullpen, you don't have a guy with closing experience in the majors, really. How important do you think it will be to maybe find a veteran in that role?
It's fairly critical to have someone to be able to get the last outs. I think the emphasis on the last 9 outs has grown, not just the back end, and we need to figure that out. You think about the last couple of years, and losing Perkins a few years ago, and Kevin Jepson and Kinsler getting a chance last year, and losing him, and Matty Belial. So we've been able to make shift fairly well, but I would really like to, the best that we can, try to stay away from having a tryout for closer in spring training. I think that would be a tough thing to do.
What's a bigger priority, you think? Finding that closer or finding another starter?
It's a tough comparison. Obviously, a lack of starter depth is concerning for me. I think over the course of a long season and the amount of innings you have to fill, depth in that rotation's it's maybe a tick higher for me. Obviously, would love to do a little bit on both ends of the pitching. I think we ran through 17 starters, 16, 17? And I think Seattle might have been in that same ballpark, but other than that, I think we were. Pardon?
You win.
Yeah, and so, but we have to lengthen our options because we're going to need more than 5, 6 starters. It's just the way it is. And then, I'm like I said earlier, the pitching that we have on the way, I think you can't really predict if it's going to be out of camp or June or this year or next spring. But I think we're going to see some help there from within. But to be able to find people to help the back end. Right now, we're looking at guys that have been, Duffy and Presley and Rogers and Hildenberger and Lucenitz and that crew from within. So anything that we can do to try to add that, whether it's experience or different looks or track records, those are all things that we would like to try to find a way to improve.
Well, there's a lot of young guys who've had success in 2021, 22.
Yep.
Byron's end of the year. I think people kind of forget how young he actually is.
Yep.
And in a world of where's mine today, you can see the example of it takes a little bit of. It's really rare that a guy will sustain 22-year-old success.
It's tough. I mean, you get your exceptions. You see what Trout did, what Harper did, and some of these guys that were able to, excel at the bigger stage rather quickly. And maybe the most surprising element to me is how consistent they were at those young ages that you spoke to. You know, Byron's had to deal with a lot in terms of coming on the scene and the draft and being the #1 prospect, and you know, he's had injuries to overcome, lost some playing time and probably development because of those things. But you know, there's not too many people around our organization that ever thought his projection of ceiling had changed. We had to kind of grow along with him and go through the patient stages. And, you know, all I can say, he's coming. I mean, I think you see it in his face and his body language that, you know, times that were frustration, and you know, last year was a little bit different. You know, there was a little up and down. There was more up than down for the first time offensively. And these guys know that I can't speak highly enough about the character of this kid. So he's what you want in all your players. You know, all the aspects of makeup and those type of things. So.
Well, Molly, given that your daily lineup still has a lot of upside in it, do you think you can close the gap with Cleveland just by adding a couple of pitchers?
I would like to think so. I mean, your goal is obviously you respect who's out front of you, and you know, we saw the Kansas City for a couple of years, and then Cleveland the last couple of years. You know, you have to try to find a way to. Your goal is to be a division winner, and which helps your path of your ultimate goal. So you have to find a way to try to chase them down, if you will, and without discarding the other team at the same time. So, yeah, what Cleveland's going to do as far as, you know, they're going to have a little bit different look possibly because, you know, whoever might depart, you know, first baseman, whatever. So we'll just have to see how it goes.
How important is it to you to have those conversations with a possible free agent, especially if you haven't had him, you personally, on the phone or even in person? What do you need to hear?
What do I need to hear?
Yeah. What are you listening for?
I think it's more important what they need to hear because it's their decision. You know, I enjoy being a part of those because, you know, a lot of it is just trying to have them get a feel for you and vice versa. And I think different players probably have different priorities and what they're looking for. You know? Without revealing some of the people we've spoken with, some people it's all about you know, the role, what they're going to do, how they're going to use, whatever it might be, and other people it's you know, tell me about, you know, what the clubhouse is like before the game, you know, who the leaders are. Other people, the young families, you know, where do people live and all those type of things. So you get a feel of kind of where these guys are at. But yeah, you know, for us, we just try to be as transparent as we can and feel that there hasn't been too many people that come through the Minnesota Twins clubhouse that have left disappointed about their experience. And I think that word is out there. I mean, obviously we're not, you know, there's no guarantees when players make moves of where they're going to go, and I try to include that in the message. I can be a little bit more assuring in terms of what I feel their experience will be compared to, you're not going to guarantee what's going to happen on the field, wins and losses, all those type of things. You can share what you aspire to accomplish. But
how many of those have you had already with respect to free agency? How many? What's the longest one you had?
Yeah, I'm probably not going to get overly revealing in that. We obviously have talked to some people. And
Ballpark?
You know, less than 100.
More than.
No, we've talked to some people. I mean, they're out there. There's pitchers still out there. Some have come off the board. You know, the market started to get a little bit of feel of where it was going. It was quiet, kind of slow to move, and then a couple signings before the meetings, and now obviously a handful here, especially the relievers are coming off the board more quickly than other things right now. So you kind of follow those trends and don't want to get left behind, but you know, you don't want to get caught up in the emotion and the momentum just to feel like you did something, and a couple of weeks from now you say, you know, what did we just do? So you gotta kind of stay in control.
With the defense that you do have and the run production you had last year, you feel like the starting pitchers really talked to have been pretty receptive about the fact that they could come into a pretty good situation, and that's nice for the defense.
I get the sense that people saw the direction that we potentially can, not only what we did last year, but where we might continue to go, given the young nucleus of our players and this and that. So, yeah, I think that people are aware of that.
All the veteran part of the clubhouse itself, you only get 25 spots, and you want a guy that can help you actually win games. But do you believe that that guy in the room we've seen from the last few teams that have actually been young and then won, there's been a guy or two who's been the older guy, the guy that maybe leaned on a little bit, the guy that's seen more? How big a believer are you in that for this team?
I think it's something that we tried to directly address last winter. Ways to bring, people that will contribute on the field, but maybe in some ways, even more importantly, be guys that set the example or are willing to have the tough conversations. These guys all last year heard about the impact that people like Jimenez and Belial and Castro and Craig Breslow for a while. And we kind of were just looking for high character, experienced people that could help us, and they all made an impact. And I think it was one of the key ingredients to the development of our young guys. And so if we could we're still looking for those kind of people. I think it's ongoing. And look at Houston and their young group, and bringing Beltran down there and the impact that those type of people can have. It's hard to measure, but it's real.
Ross in Chicago, year before David Ross.
Yeah.
In Chicago.
Right.
What do you hear
Before Dancing with the Stars, right?
What do you hear about down Dominican? Are you hopeful to make some step forward?
I haven't heard a ton. It's been a kind of a crazy first couple of months of an off season. It's been, with coaching changes and different things, and you guys, you heard me talk fairly glowingly about him last spring and what I thought he could do, and there was growth there. I still think there's more. He's just going to try to polish him up a little bit in all areas. It's a lot of wasted pitches and things he tries to do. He outthinks himself, some of those things, but he's got stuff and he's got pitches. So we'll see where we're at when we come in the spring. There's nothing guaranteed to him. He's going to have to come in and see what he can do to try to win a spot in the rotation.
How big is the conditioning part of it for him?
I think he works hard. I think, Irvin has kind of helped him to understand that. I just think that some people have a little bit more challenge just on body type. So he's going to have to try to stay out in front of that for sure.
Did you talk much with Miguel Sanosis and surgery and how he's been doing?
I've talked to him a few times, and I think he had a little anxiety about it heading into it, but we're encouraged about how it went and what he's doing. It's the unfortunate part, we're losing a fairly large portion of time for him to be able to do a lot as far as rehab and conditioning and all the things that I know that he wants to do. So I think he got down to Fort Myers last week. He's been down there a little bit, so we're going to have a chance to be a little bit more hands-on with him as he continues to increase his rehab, and hopefully with the goal of being in good shape by the time we get to spring.
Paul, I just noticed all these media people standing behind me. Can you talk about the interest in Darvish, please?
Are they in on all manager meetings waiting to? It's easy to see the free agent pitching board and what names are at the top. So it's going to be a tremendous get for whoever has the opportunity to get his name on a contract. So still out there, and we'll see what happens.
Dad did say on the local radio show that he called Darvish a priority. Does that change for you guys, or have you seen them?
Well, I'm not, how Thad defines priority. For me, in this particular case, it's let's make sure that the player and his team understand that we want to be part of discussions, and we have targeted him as somebody we have tremendous interest in. So where that's going to go, where the market's going to go, what we're able to do, how far other teams are willing to go, it's things you can't control.
Have you had a chance to talk with him yet?
I have not.
So now your Puerto Rican players have been staying in Florida for a little bit right after the season. And I think they ended up taking some supplies with them down to that country. What have you kept in touch with those guys? What kind of update can you give us as far as what they've been up to and how much they've tried to assist in recovery there?
Yeah. We have good people. I think it's one of those things that as time has gone by, it's easy for most people to just push that further back into the memory bank. And I think from what I know and communication, our guys have kept it in the forefront because the ongoing recovery, it's been really slow and it's going to take time. And these guys understand that with the privilege of being a major league player, that they feel responsible to some degree to do what they can to help. And I think for each person, it's going to be a little bit different of where they feel like you make an impact. It's not about getting the attention, or it's just about being real. Because I haven't heard the finalization of us going down there in April, but I think that's on track still to happen. I don't know if they've made that announcement yet. But even by then, I'm sure we'll still see pretty significant aftermath of what they had to endure. So.
With your DH slot, would you rather be flexible there and be able to maybe rotate Snow or Bauer or even there, or get a guy that's more like...
It's December 13th, and I don't know who's all going to be in camp. And obviously, we got some situations that we have to consider. I don't know how many games Joe ended up DHing last year, and Miggy's return from the injury, and Kenny Vargas will be out options this year. Robbie Grossman got a lot of at-bats in that role last year, so got options. And, I think everyone would love to see Kenny Vargas kind of step up and start trying to be a guy who's finds it a little bit more consistently. But you don't know that. You're just going to have to wait to see how it goes.
The amount of information that's available at everybody's fingertips now, compared to when you were playing, I don't even know how much video you watched. You talk a little bit about.
Sure. Information-wise, I've been playing for 20 years, so then you go back 20 more years before that when I started. It's not even close to what we have now. I think that, I remember if I wanted to watch tape, you'd have VHS and you'd go and you'd press forward and rewind, and it took time, but that was what you had to do. Now everything's, press a button, computer, pull up any at bat, any time, any count, any situation. It's really helpful for the players to have that so readily available, and I think then you go to the actual information and the breakdown, and the way the analytics has kind of become so prevalent. And I'm still learning. I got all the different things that you want to do in terms of analytics. I have to kind of keep the glossary close by, because someone throws a number at you and you go, man, I'm not sure what that is, so I better make sure before I start talking about it. But I like it, and I think sometimes what I feel is more important maybe is different from someone else, but it's out there, and if we can make better decisions because of it, it would be foolish not to use it.
Did you get a chance to say goodbye to Bill Park?
Yeah.
And how did that go, and why do you think it didn't work?
I did talk to him, when I saw that he was going to return to Korea. I could sense a little bit of a disappointment that he wasn't able to come over here and, be more impactful. I think the injuries last year in Rochester and then not being able to really get it going, just kind of between him and his family, he decided it was going to be better off to go back. And so I just want to, like anybody, I want to thank him for what he did when he was here. And he's a good person, man. And hopefully he gets back to having some fun, because I think the enjoyment he got from the game kind of dissipated during his time.
Remember him ever being loose or having fun, or was he just
Yeah, you know, the first year there were moments, you know, he had little stretches, and, you know, I think he enjoyed spring training last year because he played really well, and I'm sure it was hard for him not to get a chance to start the season with us after the spring that he had, but, you know, worked out the way it did.